전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. Hankook Tire.
It is race day 3 of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022, and after starting off in the United Kingdom, then heading over to the Americas, we now go to Australasia as we say hello and welcome to the RaceSpotTV booth. My name is Will Vincent. That guy is Connery Maddock. Connery, I pointed in the right direction for once.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be back here in the Hyundai N Festival Global League for 2022 for our third event already coming into this. It felt like it was just yesterday that we're getting round number 1 off to a start, but we're already getting a good chunk of this season done with already, and I certainly can't wait to see what's to come here at Phillip Island and Okayama a little bit later on.
It is 2 races that are going to be very, very different, and of course we have the lucky dip to talk about as well. Well, that one was chaotic in voting. We'll talk about that one in a moment as well. In terms of the championship so far, it's largely been domination by the United Kingdom, but we've got to add in one driver among the next as well. We're going to get to the halfway point of the season after the first of our races today at Phillip Island. It is a track in Australasia, and my word, it is fast, fast, fast.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it punishes the tyres as well. These long radius, sweeping corners, really going to test the drivers' skills with regards to keeping those tyres in a good state towards the end of the race. Of course, these aren't the longest races, so it's not a massive factor. However, front-wheel drive cars putting a lot of energy into already a very demanding situation for those front tyres might be a little bit of an issue over the course of this one. Of course, it's not really a track that we go to much anymore over the course of iRacing seasons gone by. Of course, it's played host to many a World Championship Grand Prix Series race once upon a time, but it's good to be back here down under.
It is indeed. We're going to have a look through our point standings in just a moment's time. And again, thank you to everyone who's part of the series, of course, to our sponsors, Africa TV, to Hankook Tires, and to Logitech G as well. And of course, we'd like you to keep up to date with us on social media. Use the hashtag Hyundai eFestival if you'd like to get in contact. And of course, Lucky Dip voting will open very, very shortly as well. And you will have the chance to vote on what will be the Lucky Dip options when we head to Daytona International Raceway in just 2 weeks' time from now. Where do we head off next to, Connery? Well, we're heading over to Australasia. We're heading over to Phillip Island, round number 5.
Yeah, we absolutely are in this situation, and what a host it is for this type of competition coming into this one. It's a fantastic circuit, lots of overtaking opportunities here at Phillip Island as well, especially in towards that middle sector where you dive down the hill into a heavy braking zone after Lukey Heights. That's going to be a particularly sketchy point of the circuit to look at over the course of today, but of course, once we get ourselves all started, we can get ourselves a look at the overview of today. There is the crucial information that we have for this season. Of course, 27 drivers. Ideally, we've got 2 drivers from each country taking part here today. Of course, there have been reserves called in sort of last minute in this sort of situation, but it's a good chance for those particular drivers to get themselves involved, get themselves stuck in, and hopefully we'll be able to see them at their very best. You can see at the very bottom, there's the prizes for this season, $10,000 plus 2 tickets to the Hyundai WRC Hospitality Experience as well. That's a great grand prize.
It is indeed. $5,000 second place, $3,000 for third place, and of course the country prize of $2,000 as well. Talking about new drivers, we've got a very exciting reserve driver pulled up from the USA who, tell you what, he has been doing it in sim racing. We'll talk about that one in a moment. Let's race day then. Qualifying for round number 5, 10 minutes long, followed by a 20-minute race. Then head ourselves for practice for 25 minutes for race number 2, and then another 10-minute qualifying, a 20-minute race, and that one will be a rolling start, by the way. We'll talk about that one in a moment. Point system, 25 points for victory, 20 for second, 16, 13, 11 makes up your top 5.
It absolutely does, and well, we've seen the points get themselves relatively close over the course of this one as well. We'll have a look at the point standings in just a handful of moments' time, but yeah, that's how the format's going to work here today. Back to normality, I think, because of course we had in the second race last time out, we had that whole Super Bowl qualifying to deal with an extended qualifying session, so we are back into normal mode with regards to the actual session length and how they work for this one. So nothing out of the ordinary for drivers to deal with in terms of that, but we'll get onto the lucky dip situation a little bit later on. Here's the schedule for today, of course, or rather the schedule for this season. We are slap bang right in the middle of this one. This is where championships are won and lost.
Yeah, it is. Halfway point of the season as we exit Phillip Island. The second half of the season when we start over at the Okayama International Circuit. So, again, 2 very different tracks. We're going to guide you through over the course of this evening here on RaceSpotTV. 10-minute qualifying, 20-minute race, and as I said, it's going to be a rolling start for Okayama. That'll be the first time we have that one this season. In fact, it'll be the first of at least 2 times this season, because at Daytona, in a fortnight's time, of course, we're going to have a rolling start there. So that is what we have been looking forward to. Let's look at the schedule and what we've got coming up for you. That's your kind of evening slate, shall we say, for today. And let's have a look then at this Hyundai Elantra N TCR. We know it's a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, displacement of 1988 cc, and we all know 350 brake horsepower at 7,000 RPM, and that torque, well, of course, it is a torquey car. As we look at the car that's been doing the round, shall we say, at the top of the field, the number 93 car, which has been, I can only say, absolutely superlative this season, has been Kieran Harrison. He's barely put a foot wrong all season. I mean, we could talk about what happened last couple of corners of the last round of the race, because they all went a little bit crazy there. But that is this Hyundai Elantra N TCR, as we're going to have a look at the track map in a moment's time for the first of our 2 races here today, which takes place at Phillip Island. It is a track which hosts so many types of motorsport in the Australia region. Before we do that, here's a look at your drivers taking part here today. Now, nothing really new on page number 1. We've got the Australians, Brazilians, Canadians, 1 Chinese driver, 2 from France, 2 from Germany, 2 from India, hoping to score their first points in the season. Essentially, here today, they are the only country, unfortunately, not yet to have scored a point. Of course, when we go over to page number 2, this is where things do get a lot more interesting. And I had the chance a couple of moments before we came on air, Connery, to look at Edgar Lowe. He's taking over one of the spots for the United States of America. He has got the resume of resumes in this series.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And, well, coming into this one as a bit of a reserve driver sort of situation, where it's always tough for someone to come in. And like you said, he's started in 2012 for practice, started iRacing in 2012 for practice for racing in real life. He has a road license on iRacing, but still not all that much experience with regards to sim racing because of his real-world escapades. And so there's the point standings up on screen. But at least for Edgar, he's 2014 USGT Academy. That's where he first got his first breakthrough with regards to real-life racing. He raced in the Road to Le Mans and, of course, the US Touring Car Championship as well, and champion twice in that series.
Let's look at your driver standings then. Thomas Gibson, 86 points. Kieran Harrison, 81. Quentin Gutierrez on 70. Then it's way back to Marius Gonenbeck in 4th place. Gal Valero in 5th place. And you've got Jake Maloney, Victor Miranda, Jake Blackhall, Brandon Hawkins, and Gumin Kim rounding out your top 10. So far, only a handful of drivers are yet to score a point in this series. 1 from China, 2 from India. Nolan Carpenter hasn't scored a point yet. Jose Morado from Mexico hasn't. And our 2 Hyundai and Evite drivers have not yet scored a point. And the country standings, well, they look a little bit like that. Look at that. 167 points for the United Kingdom, 104 for France, and then a massive drop back to a close battle going on right now for 3rd place in the country standings, with Australia at 60, Germany at 57, Canada at 47, and South Korea at 44.
It's great to see things so close there from P3 are back, but let's hope that's the, the front 2 get that little bit closer. Of course, France has been helped somewhat by the good results from Quentin Guinez in the previous event, so that they do sort of separate themselves out from the rest of the field, sort of in a little bit no man's land there in 2nd place. Still trying to catch the United Kingdom, though. The UK has just been so strong so far this season, but you know as well as I do, Will, that it requires just 1 or 2 bad races for one, if not both, of those UK cars, and all of a sudden the championship is back wide open, at least as far as the country is concerned.
Consistency, consistency, consistency. Here's a look then at the lucky dip options for round number 6. The options were a rolling start, a sunset night race, and a mandatory drive through pit lane. The stipulation is voted by fans on social media, and basically we let the drivers know what the lucky dip option is before they go racing. You got 3 options. We got all the fans voting across on Twitter, and well, we ended up in a dead heat. So we are going to have a rolling start. We are going to have the race at Okayama running at sunset in tonight, and we are going to have a mandatory drive through pit lane. We'll guide you through that one a bit more, Connery, when we get ourselves over to that. But first, let's have a look at the drivers doing some final preparation before they head themselves in. There's Marius Gonenbeck looking very happy. As we're just about to get ourselves action on track, final preparations before qualifying. Some of the drivers always have pre-race rituals. Some drivers often just sometimes thinking about taking a moment, taking a step back, calming themselves down and not focusing too much on what they just achieved in practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, practice time's kind of a red herring sometimes. Some drivers go all out in practice. Some drivers just take a more conservative approach and just get themselves their sights set for this upcoming qualifying session. Of course, drivers will know which one they are, so we'll see what the actual order is once we get ourselves our qualifying underway, which is just moments away here in this one. Will, I could not be more excited to get this one going, and well, Suyu comes out on top because, well, UK dominance, like I said, there kind of needs to be an upset in this series for us to, for that, the top 2 in the Drivers' Championship and the top country to be challenged.
You know what? I've commentated so many top-level sim races here at Phillip Island, but this well could be one of the best races that we are going to have. Qualifying is underway. We've got 10 minutes as ever for qualifying, and the drivers will go out. Now, a couple of bits to note. Race Control had alerted drivers to kind of loophole in the rules that they have closed up, and that relates to, if anyone's ever watched any velodrome racing, Connery, we call it relay qualifying. When you have one driver at the front, they'll go to the back, so on and so forth. That has been outlawed as a core sim racing driver getting all forms of wrong there down at turn number 4. That's been outlawed. So any driver who is deliberately slowing down to fall to the back of a pack may well be sanctioned by race control.
Yeah, it's part of the driver's responsibility to make sure that they have read and understand those drivers' briefing documents. There's no pleading ignorance here in this one, especially in a series sort of run by you, Will. So it's that won't be listened to by race control if just say, oh, I just forgot to read it. That's not the situation there. But of course, that particular rules affects core sim racing the most, of course, because they've been typically the ones that have been running in their esports team pack, shall we say. Let's see if that affects their pacing qualifying. I don't think they will. They're all very, very strong drivers, regardless of the fact that they can work together in qualifying. But we'll just have to wait and see. Usually it's been Gold back at the front of the train. He is currently, as he sets the first provisional time. But of course, Gibson, Guinness, all getting themselves ahead of him as those first couple of lap times head their way through.
Yeah, and this is a track which you've got a very long drafting opportunity all the way from basically before the final corner all the way through turn number 1 into the southern loop, which is turn number 2. Then you've got a second drafting zone, which is basically on the exit of the southern loop before you hit turn number 4. By the way, the phrase that you're looking for, Connery, is ignorantia juris non excusat, which translates from Latin into English. It's basically, ignorance is not an excuse. We're on board right now, Simone Medica in the number 9 car for Italy. Currently, it's about 2 seconds back from the fastest time in qualifying, which has been set by the number 45 United States driver of Polisek. It'll be very interesting to see just how important the draft is here. Of course, these Hyundais aren't as, we call it compared to GT3 World, they aren't as draft, crazy as a GT3 car, but a track like this, they really still do like having the toe down these long straightaways and fast acceleration zones.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and we'll see how that factors in with regards to both this qualifying session and the race. Of course, we've seen in many of the races so far that the packs like to keep themselves together, not necessarily in one big long train. However, we've seen 3-car, 4-car packs keep themselves together relatively easily, and the switching effect certainly going to be noticeable coming down this pit straight as we ride on board with Simone Modica. He actually goes third fastest, so the Italians setting themselves fast times, but all of a sudden, big bunch of lap times come through. Marcel T to the top of the order, and then we have Yumin Kim getting himself to the front for Team Korea. But is this the same sort of situation to what we've seen in the last, basically 4 races, Will, where the South Koreans qualify well, but then they just can't put it together in the race?
Yeah. We were looking a moment ago at the new entry, the 06 car, but we'll focus first of all on Marcel T, currently second place in this qualifying in the Huixenveld sponsored car, working through these 2 very difficult sections of the racetrack. Now what you're going to do, you're going to head yourself into the middle section through the left-hander. This is where the track really starts going uphill. You start undulating. This is actually the one part of the track where you do not want to have traffic, because it can affect your braking zone down into Loopy Heights, which is coming up in just a moment. Notice you're completely off camber. You don't see in the next corner, but you know that as you go over the crest of the hill, you've got to start slamming it on the brakes, and the corner is going to appear itself there, right at the last moment. As you start turning right, Marcel T sees one driver going wide on his left-hand side. You get onto the noisy pedal for the second to last corner. Now, how much of a lift is he going to do, if any, into the final corner? Comes Marcel T. That sounds completely flat out to me. He's got draft just ahead of him, about 10 car lengths ahead. It doesn't really matter where he goes, as Kieran Harrison, 136.430. Gibson, 136.546. Marcel T, currently P number 6. In fact, ahead of his countrymate, Marius Gonenbeck. This is a very, very tight qualifying. This could easily come down to who is the last driver past the line if it stays like this.
Yeah, the lap times out there just seem to be getting faster and faster and faster. The course still able to work as their 4-car pack, but of course with more restrictions, like you said, Will, so not going to be as efficient at it as they previously would be. or if they are trying to play around with the rules a little bit, Race Control will be keeping an eye on the behavior. We're riding on board with Quentin Quines, though. He got himself the race win last time out at Montreal for the first race of event number 2. So coming off a high with regards to that, wasn't a too shabby finish at Interlagos either. So things are looking up for Quentin Quines. But the thing is, the situation I remember was when he was doing his World Feed interview with our one, the only Arjuna Kankapari. Well, he wasn't really working with his French teammates of Galvalero, so it's sort of a rift between the two Frenchmen at the moment. Guinness feeling like he likes to work with his actual esports teammates more than his compatriot.
Yeah, I've heard about blood being thicker than water. Maybe teammates are more attuned to each other than countrymates. I mean, I'll tell you what, I've seen so much over the years about how countrymen work together. You see it a lot. We don't have the Finnish community in this series, but they do often actually have sim racing teams based around their nationality, very closed in. But of course, you've got a number of multi-national teams, and course sim racing are certainly one of them. They've been going at it for so many years now. They are such a diverse team. So Harrison, Gibson, Gunes, Hahn, Kim, Orkin, Miranda, T, Gollenbeck, and Blackhall. They are your top 10. We focus in on Jahi Hahn in the number 92 car. His best time, a 136.611. Currently working through sector number 1 into sector number 2. We go on board of him through turn 3, and now the big break into turn number 4. Possibly your best overtaking opportunity in the entire race. It's a short straight then up to turn number 5. And then you flick it to the left-hand side. If you are alongside from turn 4, still stay alongside. Do the switcheroony through here. Now you're likely to get single file as you work through this section of the racetrack. But we've talked about TCR bumping a few times. You haven't really seen it come into play. This is one track where right about here, there could be some good old TCR bumping going along.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't put it past these drivers. Well, this is going to be the most dangerous section of this circuit when we get into racing modes, down on the brakes in towards turn number 10. You know, it's a big downhill braking zone, so therefore you technically need to brake a little bit earlier than you expect for that corner. Plus it's a hairpin, so a big overtaking opportunity to stick it down the inside. As the guess, we'll see a couple of instants coming down into there once we get this race going. But for Jahi Hahn, he heads his way across the line now with a 136.7, and not good enough to get himself in and amongst the top few cars. He remains P5.
The thing about this qualifying session is, unlike other tracks, you really want to make sure that you keep on going. Fast lap as one of the course in racing cars goes off. That is Quentin Quines.
Yeah,
thank goodness we have the roof flags on.
Yeah, absolutely. The only French course sim racing driver in this one. I did notice on the left-hand side, though, Kim has been able to put in a blistering lap time, good enough to disrupt the British 1-2 in qualifying. The British front row lockout, it's non-existent anymore, and Kim's gotten himself in and amongst them. But remember how many times this happens over the course of the last few races. Kim getting up there, mixing things at the front, it ends in tears.
Worth noting that Kieran Harrison's currently second place in the championship. It's Gibson who is leading. This is what happened then to Quentin Quines. I mean, yeah, it was just him going up. And I mean, unless that is a very wild interpretation of the rules, and I'm not even going to start going down that route. Here's Thomas Gibson, currently third place in qualifying right now. 136.546, his fastest lap of the day. 12 seconds remaining in qualifying. This could be the last lap. Actually, for some of these course sim racing drivers, are they going to make it to the start finish line in time? The answer will be no. Last lap then for the course sim racing quad jet, and it's a 137.298.
They didn't get it. It was basically sort of a warm-up lap for them. That wasn't going to be their fast lap. Yeah.
This reminds me of that time, was it Formula 3 at Monza or Hockenheim, one of those two tracks, when they tried doing that. They slowed down, they missed it by just about 5 seconds. Would have been 10 seconds if you were the last car on the train. But luckily, they're currently P1, P3, P4, P5. But Kim, in the 23 car, currently stays in second place. We're on board Michael Palasek in the United States number 45 car. Full Stand Motorsports towards the start finish line. A toe ahead of him. What's he going to do at 137.2 to beat? Into 136, 136.9, 2.7 up into the top 10.
Yeah, great little lap there at the end for Polisek to establish that United States car inside the top 10. Lau has not had good fortune in this one. He's down in P20. Of course, it is a bit of a struggle when you're a reserve driver coming into this one as we wait for this session to wind down. Wondering if there's anyone yet to complete their laps here. Not seeing all that many, in fact. So we'll wait for this one to wind down. But currently, Harrison up onto pole position once again for the UK, but what can Kim do from second place? He's been in that position before, but can he convert it this time around?
Inside, outside lines, turn number 1, turn number 2, into the southern loop. That's going to be fascinating to watch. In just about 3 minutes time from now, I can confirm Kim is on pit road, Gibson's on pit road, pretty much everyone is on pit road, so we're going to head ourselves over to the starting grid in just 1 moment's time. But that was the kind of qualifying session I expected from Phillip Island. Of course, in racing, it just kind of ended a bit too early.
Yeah, it kind of did. But, well, for Harrison at least, he didn't really need that final lap. Here's the starting grid then, Will. Kieran Harrison, pole position, Gimon Kim in second place, Thomas Gibson third, and Quentin Guinness starting in fourth.
Marius Gonnenbeck from Germany in P number 5, Jahi Ham in P number 6 for South Korea. P number 7 is, there we are, Brandon Hawkin from Canada in the number 99 car. Victor Miranda, P8 for Brazil, with Marcel T in 9th place for Germany, and Michael Polisek in 10th place for the United States.
Jake Blackall lines in up in 11th for Australia, with Jake Maloney in P12, making it an all-Australia row number 6. Mackenzie Cornish, P13, Roberto Ferrari, P14, Simone Modica in P15, with Junho Zhang rounding out the top 16 spots.
Then you got yourself Gal Valero from France in P number 17, Bersif in P number 18. Good qualifying. Good chance of points to him here today. 19th place will go to Jose Morado. And 20th, our newcomer in Edgar Lau from the United States. And Aditya Patanik for India in P number 21. No real qualifying time for Aditya, actually. Very slow. As we have a look then at your starting grid, up, waiting for Barney in just a couple of moments' time. In fact, we've got ourselves about a minute before we head ourselves to the green flag. So this is round number 5 of the Hyundai NE Festival Global League 2022. Thank you to our sponsors, Hankook Tires, to Logitech G, and to Africa TV. Connery, final thoughts before we head to green.
This one's going to be fast and frenetic. Once again, I have to wonder how many is going to survive lap number 1, especially coming through that first sector. It's so easy to get bullied off your line as drivers try to take the normal track exit. So everyone hold on to your hats. This one's going to be crazy.
I'm literally wearing one today, so I'll hold on to it as we commentate the first couple of corners. You've got Corson Racing front row in P number 1, and then you've got Korea outside of row number 1. Then you've got, interestingly enough, in 3rd place, another Corson Racing British driver. So it could well be a case of, can you box the 23 car in and out at the start of the race? It's worth noting, inside line for turn number 1 becomes the outside line for turn number 2. Lights are on top of the gantry. Barney is ready. We're ready for round number 5 of the series, and the lights will go out. We are away here in Australia at Phillip Island, but great start for Kieran Harrison, front row of the grid. Yumin Kim, 2nd place, Thomas Gibson 3rd, but it looks as though we are going to stay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as they qualify. It looks like Harrison has got himself about a car length's advantage right now over Gumin Kim. Gibson in 3rd, and a lot of racing behind, and a car off track. Only 2 cars off track. That is the number 20 car from Italy, spinning it around, and that is Simone Modica all the way to the rear of your field. We've got 1 or 2 others affected. You said it was going to be chaotic, Connery. It is chaotic. Lap number 1.
Here we go, battle for, well, we might be seeing a battle at the fronts developing here in just a handful of moments as Kim is coming under threat, and there it is as Thomas Gibson looks to try to go the long way around here on lap number 1 of the race. Kim is able to hold on it inside though. Careful Gibson, he almost took out his teammate by coming across.
Yeah, that's Quentin Gunes there, who Gibson almost made contact with as they now work themselves down through Lukey Heights for the first time in this race. As I said, if you're going to go TCR racing and do some bumping, here is where you might end up doing it. A lovely shot looking down at the drivers, but actually they all stay moderately calm as they will end up concluding lap number 1. The gap between Harrison and Kim, let's note this down, it's half a second as they work through the final corner. Now, we're going to really see how big this draft is going to be and see if Kim can hunt down Harrison as they come past the start-finish line and head themselves again towards turn number 1. Interesting to note, that's only going to be about a 1/10 of a second Kim could gain through that sequence of corners. And look at that. Cars all over the place at the start of this race, down through into the southern loop.
Yeah, that's part of what I was worrying was going to happen. Oh no, was that Junho Zhang just getting completely cleared out by one of the Indian drivers there? One of the Indian drivers actually got penalised during qualifying to take the tow back to the pit lane. However, they claim they did not. So that one might be a review after the race that the stewards will have to double check. Not all that much they can do to try and rectify that one now, unfortunately. But there we go. But back to the live pictures then. Everyone line astern here for pretty much the entire field. Everyone's kept themselves, at least after that first lap, relatively well behaved as we ride on board with Marcel T as he tries to track down Jake Maloney. This is for the position just inside of the top 10 here in this event. And well, T is just going to stick by him for now. There's not a lot of opportunity you can get things done through the S's section of turn 7, turn 8. You're more looking at trying to get the line through Lukey Heights and then maybe get a surprise move on the brakes down the hill in towards turn number 10. He's going to pressure him closely, but there's no gap appearing. Meanwhile, gap appearing at the further forward because Brandon Hawkins just cracked one open there on Hahn.
Yeah, and Hahn's going to try and respond immediately right on the gearbox. I was about to say, I wonder how many laps Maloney has done at this track. Of course, it being a home track for him here on Australia, the only Australian track on the schedule, and there we're on board right now with Hahn as he's got himself Hawking just ahead of him. Down in towards turn number 1, and Hahn has actually lost a bit of ground on this straightaways. Now into the southern loop again. Let's have a look at the angle attack there. Hahn, you can just notice a little bit of a drift as he works through the center of the corner, but gets nicely out of the southern loop and now right in the toe as they come down through turn number 3. You're flat out through here. If you want to make the pass, you can do it down into turn number 4, and that looks like what Hahn's trying to do as ahead. Kim's putting all the pressure in the world right now on to Kieran Harrison.
Yeah, this is what we love to see, things being shaken up a little bit here at the very front. Kim's not afraid to get his hand stuck into this. I think the first few events have proved that to the core sim racing drivers. He's not afraid of racing them hard. Let's just see if the racecraft maintains at a high level here, because it has been so far, at least in this race between these drivers. You can see Kim taking the slightly different line, shallower line, down in towards turn number 10 now. Big wide arc being taken through and almost sort of boots the back bumper coming through the apex of turn 10. What's happened to Hawking? He's dropping down the field.
Oh no, Brandon Hawking is actually no, he's in 9th place. He's in 9th place right now. And he's got himself, just have a look at the timing screen actually, down into 10th place. And he is still scrapping it out. That's one reason why. It's side by side. There's a very close bump draft going on with the number 23 machine as you head down in towards turn number 1. These guys, being pushed out wide. Now, this is the most difficult part, is you're going to end up coming back on, and that's exactly what I thought was going to happen there. Thomas Gibson, your championship leader, T-boned down on the southern loop, and the reason for that is, Connery, if you go off at turn number 1, you are hoping and praying that car is not going to T-bone someone off, and Gibson, the left rear, is completely bottled on that car. You talked about one race in the championship being wide open. There you are.
That will be a rather significant penalty as well for Kim, you would argue, in that situation. The stewards are not going to look too fondly upon that. Of course, there's only so much you can do when you're on the grass there to try and get it slowed down. You can slam on the anchors, but then you lose more directional control. If you decide to carry the speed, then you better be hoping there's a gap for you when you come back onto the circuit. It's a very tough decision, but unfortunately, if it goes wrong, you're the only one to blame, and it's just a matter of how hard the stewards are going to come down on that.
Yeah, as it stands, Hahn is in P number 4, so realistically, he only lost 2 positions in all that. Big part of the reason why, well, we had someone to slow his car down, shall we say. Here's a replay. So this is how it started off down into turn number 1, and Hahn ends up going, and the thing is, this grass will not slow you down. Hahn comes back onto the track and basically just T-bones into your championship leader, Thomas Gibson, who is out of the race, and there's more battling going on. That's the number 29 TTR car of Maloney on the outside right now of Polisek. So you got Australia versus United States. Marcel T is in there in the mix as well as they work through the southern loop once again.
Yeah, this is, it's not how you want something like that to end, but once again, it's those two at the very front of the field ending in an incident. Of course, Harrison, with the initial contact, that's just racing sometimes. It's sort of 2 and 2 1. You've got to be aware of the latency difference between the UK and Korea as well. So you perhaps can't race as closely as you would if the pings were more equal, shall we say, or reduced. But yeah, that's a tough one to take for Gibson. And, well, that is major problems now with regards to him and his championship up against his, well, compatriot of Harrison, Gibson. It's a DNF basically, and look at how it's changed the country standings. Not by all that much, mind you, because Valero's down in P11 for France. But yeah, that's again crucial points lost.
It is, and it is one of those things with only 10 rounds in the championship. Every bad result can really come back and haunt you. As it stands, it's Harrison leading from Gunes. Let's not forget, Gunes had a good showing last time out in rounds number 3 and 4. It's gone back in 3rd with Hahn in 4th place. Miranda, good result right now for Miranda in P number 5. Hawkin, Maloney, Polisek, well, they are just battling it out. P6, P7, P8 on track. Got Marcel T there in the mix as well. Then a gap to Cornets in P number 10. Valero in 11th. And you know what? We've got an Indian driver right now in the top 15 for the first time, although they've just been passed by Zambolini from Brazil. So India may be scoring their first point in the series as we're on board. Michael Palasek in the number 45 car, running in P number 8, and that is the TTR car of Jake Maloney just ahead.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So, well, I guess some drivers would have had to benefit off of the problems at the very front of the field. 2 drivers losing a large amount of positions, and, well, you see Jake Blackwell actually gaining the position over Chef there. So the 97 past the number 44 towards the, well, the lower half of the field, shall we say. We're still yet to get to a halfway point in this race, believe it or not. It feels like everything's happened already, but we've still got 10.5 minutes left to go here in this one. Of course, still question marks about the race lead because Harrison and Guinness, they are relatively close together. And, well, Guinness, well, he's got to do the calculations in his head now. Is it worth trying to challenge his esports teammate for the race lead? They are, with regards to the actual point standings, Guinness is 3rd place in the standings and not too far behind Harrison, actually. So if he's got Drivers' Championship on the mind, Guinness has to press forward here and take the race win off his esports teammate.
Yeah, the thing is, when you race on the same stable as someone else, it is so difficult because you know every little strength, every little weakness, but trying to exploit that weakness can be so difficult. We're looking at Marius Gonnenbeck then, 1.1 back from your race leader. Gonnenbeck, of course, so many years experience, over 15 years of experience in sim racing. He's been a commentator, he's worked as race administrator, he even works in motorsports as well. And that number 19 car works through turn 4. Good use of the curb there on the outside. I haven't really talked about the curbs at this track much, but you can use these curbs, especially through here, to help rotate the car, which can be so important, especially as you start building more and more heat into them as we're now into the second half of the race.
Yeah, that starts to become a little bit more of a problem later on. Of course, 10 minutes of running, or rather 11 minutes of running right now. The tyres still in good condition, I would have thought, for the vast majority of the drivers up and down the field. But of course, it also does depend on how much they're just trying to be wringing them out and putting those big heat cycles into them. But for the front of the field, though, Harrison relatively comfortable, 9/10 of a second to a second back to Guinness, so he's starting to get out of slipstream range now. And well, Gollenbeck is diligently trying to track down Guinness as well. But whether or not we'll see major battling for position amongst these top couple of core cars, that is still an entirely different question. But I guess it's just something that we'll have to wait and see whether it happens or not. But race is under a good situation, good pace right now. Things have calmed down up and down the field, and well, we're preparing ourselves for the the last dash to the line, I suppose.
One driver out of the race, that is Thomas Gibson. One driver having to make a journey through pit road to get some repairs. That is Roberto Ferrari from Italy. We're on board again. Marco Polisek, number 45 car, P number 8. TTR Esports car of Maloney just ahead. By the way, remember TTR Esports some years gone by? There's a good reason why. Once upon a time they might have hosted now world champion iRacing. As we now work through that turn number 4 again, and Jake Maloney in that number 29 car, as I said, he must know this track absolutely off by heart. The racing that he does, an Australian racing series, of course, TTR Esports, one of the biggest sim racing teams in the Australasian region. And we're looking now from the rear of Maloney as they work towards Lukey Heights again.
Yeah, and well, Maloney, it's not been the, at least the first couple of rounds of this season have been interesting for the Australians. They've gotten themselves some good results here and there, and well, Maloney, certainly the big collector of the points as part of that team. He's in 6th place in the standings right now compared to Blackhall's 8th place, but still relatively similar if you take them at face value there. Australia, though, coming into this, they were 3rd in terms of points right now, and well, a middling finishes like this, well, it's not exactly going to help them catch France and the United Kingdom by any means. So they might just be a little bit stuck for the moment as we see Polisek continue to try and lock onto the back of Maloney here. The United States, however, well, they are coming into this one. They were 9th in the country point standings, and well, they're gaining a whole bunch of points over Italy right now. Let me tell you that, because the Italians have not had a fantastic day whatsoever towards the back of the order.
They're currently, as far as I can tell, well, yeah, not even in the point, shall we say. P number 16 for Medica, and he's only, though, a couple of moments away from the number 44 of Sheev. So it's either Italy getting a point here today, or India getting their first point. Ferrari, talked about a moment ago, he's currently P number 21, dead last on track, 1 minute 7 behind your overall leader here today. I say overall leader, with single class racing. Come on, back to single class racing we go. As we look from the rear of the Australian car, full send, not quite going to do a full send there into Lukey Heights. That is Maloney again, we're looking from a 29 car from Australia, and actually, there's a half send. Wasn't quite a full send. Insert your pun here, Connery.
Yeah, well, you can't be immune to puns with a name like that, let's just say that. But with Polisek, look how much pressure he's putting on the back of Maloney. It was almost bump drafting him through the final corner here. In fact, he is tucked up underneath that rear bumper. Now he's going to go to driver's left-hand side, right up against the pit wall to try and get this one done. Maloney will give him the squeeze, as he has the right to do. Polisek continuing to carry this momentum around the outside, level coming into, well, it's not so much a braking zone, it's more of a lift-off zone through there. Careful Maloney, he's got to careful not to track out too wide there and carry too much speed, but he's got it all under control. Of course, this is, after all, a home track for the Australians.
It is. There's not many, in fact, this is the only track we are going to Australia, unfortunately, this season. I do love all the Australian racetracks they've got here, past, present, as we're now looking at a little battle going on behind, and this is 2 Indian drivers now inside of the point, but this is getting very feisty as we're looking towards the rear part of the field. This is going on for P14, 15, 16, 17 on track. So we start with Pat Lake. Then we've got ourselves with Deco. He's just moved into the points, but no. Chief's going to retake that position for P number 15. Then you have got in P number 16 the Italian driver of Medica. P number 17 recovering Gumin Kim for Korea. And if you're the two Indian drivers right now, this is going to be 4 minutes plus of absolute defense.
Yeah, but it is their first points of the season to defend here. It will do nothing with regards to them catching Mexico in the point standings. They're on 7 points at the moment, but for the Indian drivers, this is a point of pride at the moment to try and get themselves their first points on the board, not just as individuals, but of course as their country as well. They have 3.5 minutes to hold on to this one. Kim's trying to squeeze down the inside of one of the Italian drivers there as the battles continue to rage on down the field. This particular battle, not for points though, between Kim and the driver of the number 20 machine, which is of course Simone Modica.
Yeah, a wonderful look from up above then as they'll come past the start finish line. Interestingly, the draft hasn't been in the race as much of an impact as I thought it might have been. As we're now looking at Gael Valero in the number 33 car representing France. Ahead of him, he has got himself the Canadian driver, number 42 machine of Cornice, and Valero has got what will become the inside line into turn number 4 by running the outside in turn number 3. That one was a nice simple pass, Valero up into the top 10, and that was picture perfect. You put your car to the outside of turn number 3, you automatically have the inside into turn 4.
Yep, you do, and just careful with the slight connection and stability there for Gael Valero. Of course, in a new livery for this race as well, in that Apex Racing Academy car, as that is a recognisable livery anywhere in iRacing. But well, livery's going to do nothing with regards to his defence at the moment, trying to keep Cornice behind him, and also, well, Cornice, well, he has to try and decide how aggressive he wants to be here with Valero, who seems to be having a few problems, but it is coming in towards the last 2 laps of this race.
Yeah, look at that. Already we're down to 2 minutes to go. 2-minute warning, everyone, and Harrison Gunes at the front of your field, separated by a second. We're on board with Mackenzie Cornice then, currently at 11th place on track, and he's got himself Gael Valero just ahead of him. These two are basically battling for P10. There's a 4-second gap behind them, and there is a 7-second gap ahead. So for these two drivers, it quite clearly is mano-a-mano. No point in even thinking about any other battle on track for them. And that is almost a massive incident. Marius Gonenbeck then, that's going to be the second time Jahi Han has had an incident in this race, down at turn number 4, this time with Marius Gonenbeck.
I'm not sure if it was his fault though. That's going to be one for the stewards, at least from my overhead view. He did get himself to the inside, and Marius did turn in a little bit. Let's have a look at it for a little bit of a different angle. Yeah, maybe not quite enough of an overlap and soon enough to make that one happen.
But Jahi Han is up into 3rd place. He might still have his set sight with 1 lap to go or more in terms of the podium. Gonenbeck is 0.8 of a second behind Han, unlikely to make a move as we enter the final lap of this race. The white flag will be out this time by as Harrison leads from Gunes, who leads from Han, then Gonenbeck in 4th. Miranda rounds out your top 5. A little blink there at Barney, waving the white flag into turn number 1. For the final time comes Harrison comfortably in front.
Yeah, this is not going to be an issue as long as he keeps on the grey stuff. I'm not giving him the curse here at the moment. Touching my desk, which is made of wood, for the fortune. But for Harrison, of course, this is so crucial, such a crucial race in terms of his championship fight with his compatriot Thomas Gibson. Gibson, of course, one of the retirements from this race. Despite that, though, Harrison scoring maximum points from this race in P1 still gives the United Kingdom a good points haul with regards to the country standings. There's a change for thirds, though. Australia falling down 1 position to 4th place. Germany, if this race ends as it is, will be 3rd coming into our 2nd race here today.
Yeah, so 1 change in the championship standings, but we're now focused on this last couple of corners here at Phillip Island. What a good race it's been for Kieran Harrison, leading since the drop of the green flag here today. Gunes in 2nd place. has managed to work himself up a little bit. Of course, there's been a controversy with the third place driver, Jahi Han, is the number 92 car falling into line, not going to make a move on Gunes, but it's going to be Kieran Harrison in the number 93 car, once again claiming victory in the series, and the 5th round of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022 will go to the United Kingdom and Kieran Harrison. We've got ourselves a bit of an issue down at the back part of our field as the number 99 of Hawkin slows dramatically. Do I dare say out of fuel?
Looks like it. He's just about coasting it to the line there. He's laughing about something, probably giggling at the ridiculousness of the situation. Oh, I've been a bit of a plonker there with regards to the fueling issues. But yeah, that does losing a handful of positions, down in towards P9 now. So more points for Australia, more points for Brazil, more points for the US, more points for Germany with regards to that situation there. And back through the field, well, we have Patanek and we have Chef, who do come across the line to score their first set of points in the Hyundai N Festival Global League for 2022. India are on the board.
Finally, it took them half the season, but India not only get points on the board, they get 2 drivers with points on the board then. So at the end of the race, it was not a wonderful day for Canada and therefore the world, as they dropped down a number of positions at the last moment. As we talked about before in the country standings, every point really does matter. And even though there's only prize money to the country who wins the country standings, oh, there's still a lot of inter-country rivalries that go on in iRacing. Trust me, I've been commentating on that one for over 10 years now. A little bit of a bump from Gordon Gunes to Kieran Harrison as they work themselves back on towards pit road. But let's get a look then at our final race results from round number 5. And Kieran Harrison, United Kingdom, claims victory by just about 9 tenths of a second from Courtin Gunes from France. Jae-hee Han for South Korea, provisionally in 3rd place, because I almost guarantee there'll be a penalty for him as to what happened midway through the race down at the Southern Loop. Marius Grottenbeck from Germany in P number 4. Victor Miranda from Brazil rounds out your top 5. Rest of those results coming through on your screen right now. No P14, P15 India claiming their first point. It's been a bad day. No points yet for the Hyundai N invite drivers. Only one of them today, Juhun Jang, in this race. And then, as I said, one driver many minutes down. Well, 1 minute and a bit. Roberto Ferrari in the number 91. And then one retiree, 2 retirees in the end. Simone Medica, Thomas Gibson. We talked about a miserable day for Thomas Gibson. It's been a miserable day for Italy as well. They're going to fall way down the country standings. That was not a good run for them as well. The sun is setting, shall we say, at Phillip Island in a couple of moments' time. Oof. That was a race that had some very crazy moments. And in the middle, we had ourselves a little bit, and I say a little bit, a minute, maybe a minute and a half of calm, and then bam, it's excitement all over again.
Yeah, it seemed like the middle of the race was just setting up for the ends there. Drivers getting themselves stuck in at the end. I mean, we also saw what happened in the first couple of laps as well. In particular, with that incident between Kim and the Course Sim Racing drivers at the front, taking Thomas Gibson out of the event. A real feel for Thomas here, because there was nothing he could do about that. He was taken out by a bolt from the blue, basically, and there's nothing he can do about it. It's just the worst luck possible. But again, sometimes that's the way motorsports work, unfortunately. But of course, let's just send it to a break, because of course we've got a lucky dip situation happening at Okayama, don't we?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in 2 minutes' time. Stay with us here on RaceSpotTV. We'll be back after this.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. 한국 Tire.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. 한국 Tire.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. 한국 Tire.
Welcome back, highlights then from race number 1. And it was a very good start, as we said earlier, by your race leader. But then we see early on a couple of drivers going off, one of the Canadian drivers, and then a few more deciding to decide that they want to do some off-road driving here today. That was the number 30 car, Amadika, number 20 car even, Amadika. Talked about earlier on. Issues down at Lukey Heights that involved Marcel T and the TTR esports car of Jake Maloney. But the thing is, these cars, they are strong. They were both able to carry on racing. Number 92 car we saw briefly for a moment, and side-by-side racing with one of the Brazilian drivers around the outside. And that's what happens if you hold it in. We'll see what happens when you don't in a moment's time. Say the outside of turn number 1 works not if you do that though. What the number 32 machine did, and more incidents then. That was the number 92 car battling it out, and then more drama again. The 06 car, new to the series, that we talked about a little bit earlier on of Edgar Lau. But we're going to come up then to the key moment of the race. Here is the car from South Korea who decided to come back onto track. You can't really slow it down there. We've got to be honest, but if you're the core car, you see, bam! And that was Thomas Gibson, well, out of the race, unfortunately. And that was the key moment of the day. 3 wide almost into turn 1. That was Jake Maloney getting past some drivers. And we noticed the battle going on towards the end of the race. Your 2 Indian drivers trying to get into the point for the first time, all over the curb. Those are number 23 car as they work through that southern loop section of the track. But that was, well, a crazy start, crazy middle, and a crazy end to the race. We see again, Marius Gonnenbeck was battling it out with him at the end, but at the end, it was all about Kieran Harrison. Kieran Harrison claiming another victory, and there's a sigh of relief. He doesn't ever seem to get excited. It always seems to be a bit of a sigh of relief for him. As we welcome you back into the RaceSpotTV studios, my name is Will Vincent, and guy is Connery Maddock. As one race down, we head very quickly from Australia up to Japan. We head to Okayama, and we head to a track that actually hosted 2 Grand Prix in 1994 and 1995. Trivia question, Connery, who won those races?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. What years were they?
1994, 1995.
No idea.
Schumacher.
There we go.
Schumacher in the Benetton Ford, then Schumacher in the Benetton Renault, start of the season. As we're heading ourselves over to Okayama, we're going to insert our typical note about Japanese tarmac in a moment, but we've got a lot to talk about for this race because, of course, you, the fans, get to choose what we have our drivers do in the second round of the race, and you can actually start voting for Daytona in 2 weeks' time by visiting RaceSpot.wtf/lucky dip. The vote is open. It is live right now. And this is what the options were for race day number 6, not number 4. A mandatory, race day number 4. That is what you can have.
Yeah.
That's what we mean. A mandatory pit stop. Points for the fastest lap or points for pole position. Visit RaceSpot.wtf/lucky dip. All you need to do, vote, retweet, say what option you voted for, and you can win a Hyundai remote control car. Congratulations to Richard Davies from the United Kingdom, who won our vote, our prize, shall we say, for this round. Is Okayama, opened in 1990. The track is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it did host 2 Grand Prix in 1994 and 1995. 11 corners around this racetrack. There's some technical sections at the start of the lap, some big braking zones down into the hairpin, the technical section through Revolver, then you got that double hairpin and the 2 fast right-handers to round off the lap. It's a track that pretty much everyone on iRacing has tackled at some point due to it being one of the tracks that's often used in the Rookie Series, Connery. I don't know how many races I've commentated here.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Again, I'm in sort of a similar situation. I think my first ever broadcast actually on RaceSpotTV was a race at Okayama. It was Monday Night Skippies at Okayama, I believe it was. So that's how far behind this track goes back. And of course, if you've been a rookie on the iRacing service, you know exactly what's up with this circuit as well. It was one of the first rookie circuits on the service. So yeah, these drivers should know it like the back of their hands. You know, they've raced it in the rookie cars. You know, they might have raced it a little bit on their way up through the iRacing licenses as well. So this one should be a fun one. And of course, it's got that added element of, well, we have sort of all three lucky tip options because we had a three-way tie for the lucky tip situation coming into this one. So take us through and explain what those were.
Yeah, so this is where we wonder whether it's done deliberately. It probably wasn't. But we had three options for this race. Race option number one was a drive through pit lane, no pit stop required. Option number two was a rolling start. Option number three was a race that starts at dusk and heads into the night. And well, chaos theory, that's what we're going to have. We're going to have all of them. We're going to have a rolling start for the first time this season. In fact, it's the first in 2 second races in a row that we're going to have a rolling start. Because Daytona, in 2 weeks' time, you're not going to start the cars and the standing start on the tri-oval. It just doesn't work. Then we've got that race. It's our first night race of the season. We're going to have that in 2 weeks' time as well at Daytona. But the key thing is, all the drivers have to come through pit road. Think of it like a Joker lap. They'll come on towards pit road, do the entire pit road at pit road speed limit, and then go back out onto the track.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this works out because it could be used strategically. Even though you're not actually making yourself a stop, you're not getting yourself into your pit box, you're not changing the tires or doing anything with the fuel. However, you can still use it to your advantage. What if you're stuck in a little bit of traffic, you're stuck in a pack, you can't get past someone ahead of you? You might be tempted to try and come down in early and get that drive-through done first, and then get yourself perhaps a clean bit of track to try and put some qualifying times on. Just sort of do a kind of pseudo undercut like that, even though you're not putting new fresh tires on the car.
Yeah, and you've got to do it between the end of lap one, so no doing it as the pace car comes on towards pit road, and you've got to do it before the white flag lap. So no Schumacher in 1998 at Silverstone, when he famously won the race on pit road. You've got to make sure you do it before the end of the race. You can keep up to date with what drivers have been on pit road by visiting RaceSpot.tv/timing. If you have a look on there, there's a column called Lane, and you'll see the drivers who have done their mandatory drive through pit road because, well, they would have had a time put onto that column. So RaceSpot.tv/timing, and you can basically see and keep up to date with who's done it, who hasn't. Would you do it early or late, Connery?
Well, for me, personally, I'll get it out of the way with first, you know, because it's one less thing to worry about, you know, coming into this event. So after you get that first lap done, you get that first opportunity to come down on towards the pit lane, I'm straight in, personally. However, like I said, some drivers might take a more tactical approach to it. They might not have even fully decided at this point when they're going to do it. It's going to all depend on the situation. If they get away and get a good start, get some clear air, say, you know, pole position starts running away at the front of the field, I don't think they're necessarily going to come down in first time of asking. They're perhaps going to wait until everyone else behind's come down in and then maybe get it done then. But again, it's a very contextual thing. I could just tell you what I would do, at least devoid of context. But for the drivers, it might be a little bit more cerebral than that.
I think it will come down to who's on pole position. Anyone remembers the Grand Prix last year with Hungary and Hamilton being left all by himself on the starting grid? Well, you can do exactly that. If, for example, you have Kim, who scores pole position or leaves towards the end of the first lap, I can ultimately see all the core sim racing drivers coming on towards pit road and trying their hardest to get that separation. Again, there's been some issues between core sim racing and the Korean drivers, but we are less than 5 minutes away from race number 6 here at Okayama. And oh yeah, look at that. It's getting dark here in Japan right now. And it's our first night race of the season. What that means is that the tyre temperatures are going to be cooler, which might help out a little bit because traditionally, as we all know, because of the way Japanese tarmac is made, it's a little bit more slippy than what we'd have elsewhere.
Yeah, a little bit less grip on this surface. I haven't actually brought this up as a topic in actually quite a long time, Will. It's you know, it just goes to show that I haven't really commentated a Japanese circuit for really all that long either. So yeah, that's one of the situations that these drivers have coming into this one. It's again, it's probably going to be one of the things sort of towards the bottom of their list of things they're thinking about. If I'm being completely honest, it's just like, oh, they figured out it's in practice. Oh, okay. I mean, it's not really changed their preparation towards it. Maybe it changed the setup a little bit. Of course, remember, it is an open setup here in this series, so maybe there's something they can do to try and counteract the grip lost through that because of the different track surface. But in just a couple of moments, we'll be getting ourselves our championship standings up onto the screen in about 10 seconds time. So we'll see how things stack up, because this is going to be including the points coming out of the race that we just had at Phillip Island. So it's going to be all calculated. Of course, it's not including stewarding results though, or stewarding penalties. So it is still provisional and it's still unofficial, like you say, like you see at the top of the on the title bar. But there we go. Kieran Harrison, 106, changed for second place though because of that poor race from Thomas Gibson. Well, he's lost second place in the championship. Quentin Guinness has snatched that away from him.
Yeah, he has. So Kieran Harrison, top place. It's going to be a road back for Thomas Gibson, but as we saw already, it takes one bad race and everything can scramble itself up. Jahi Han is 36 points of career. That was worth noting because he's had very good races up until now, but then his races have struggled a little bit. Interesting to note, Gael Valero moving up a little bit for France. That'll be interesting. Of course, we talked last race in the interviews about how Gunners and Valero, that one isn't countrymen working together. They're rivals, just like everyone else. You've got two Australian drivers inside your top 10 right now. 43 points for Maloney, 32 points for Jake Blackhole. And Brandon Hawkin, the Canadian driver, inside the top 10, 9th place in the number 99. One Brazilian driver there in the mix as well. There we are then, country standings, and United Kingdom 192 points to 130 for France. Germany, they're up one place. Grönnebeck and T, despite that massive bang that T had, he was still able to get that car into a good position at Phillip Island. Australia, Jake Maloney, Jake Blackhole, they are P4 right now, losing a position. South Korea, Kim and Han, they are scrapping in P number 5. It's only 3 points between them, though, and Canada. So that battle for P5 is really hot up. Brazil, P7, 8 for United States, 9th for Italy, 10th for Mexico. We turn over the page, and we can now say on the board are India. After being pointless in our first 2 race days, they pick up their first point of the season, Connery, with a P14 and P15. So it's now just China who yet to score a point, but they haven't really been participating that much this season. Driver wall. There we are again.
Yeah, everyone getting themselves prepared and ready. Everyone looking quite nice in their Hyundai shirts as well. Of course, that's provided to us by the league sponsors of Hyundai, and well, at least for the drivers, they actually have their car numbers on the shirts, which is really cool, if you ask me. And of course, the country flag as well, so kind of easily identifiable there, especially with the Italian flag and the number 20 in the very center. Of course, when you see 20, you think Simone Modica, because that is his car number. So it's great to see everyone sort of preparing themselves. There's an empty chair at the bottom right, so I'm not exactly
yeah, that's Kieran
sure.
Harrison. He's at the door. Whether or not he's got like an Uber Eats or Deliveroo or just the other takeaway brands are available, or whether it is the infamous comfort breaker, executive producer Hugo Louise always has a pre-race ritual. We'll put it that way. I tell you what, every time I've seen on the middle left, he's always been yawning. So, I mean, I don't know if he's not that interested in this series. I can take the Mickey. I'll make the jokes, but we'll get all these drivers. It is great to see them. Of course, I'm the only one that's not in team uniform today. That's just because the blue, we found out the blue of the shirt and the green of my green one just doesn't work together. There we are. Out onto track they come. Grönnebeck, as ever, is the driver who is at the front of the field. Note the fact that at this stage, we are kind of at sunset dusk, so we're not fully into the night yet. And one thing that will become a factor in this race is that darkness and, of course, the lights. Race Control have implemented what we like to affectionately know as the Mac Backham rule. Don't flash your headlights every time you get onto the noisy bit.
Yeah, of course, for those unaware, Mac Backham, driver for Quanda Sim Sports in World Championship competition here on iRacing, and he does have the tendency to lean on that a little bit too much, just flashing lights constantly of cars ahead of him. Yeah, thankfully, we've got a rule against that coming into this one. So you are allowed to flash your lights, not an outright ban on it, but it's the excessive flashing of lights. And of course, you can indeed flash your lights if there's a lapped traffic ahead of you that you want to let know that you're heading up on them. It's going to be more effective, though, here in the night, of course, and it will be pretty dark, even at the start of the race for this one. And it's going to be even darker towards the end of the race. So it's going to be a big struggle here when you consider that the track itself doesn't have any floodlighting. There's no lit portions of this circuit, so the only light that you're going to be seeing is, well, tail lights, brake lights, and of course headlights, and well, maybe even a light in the window telling you which car is in which position.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, that one bit is very, very useful for us, shall we say, as commentators, because it's, you know what, we talk about the fact there's not much lighting here, but some of the most famous racetracks in the world that do night racing doesn't have much lighting. I think about, for example, Bathurst, or you can also think about, Circuit de la Sarthe doesn't have much lighting from the drive to the track. Then you've got Spa. You go out into the mountains, absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you have a little bit of light around the sort of pit straight area, and then there's a sort of a light stretch just before Blanchimont, at least here in iRacing, but there's, yeah, apart from that, there's absolutely pitch black out there, and it's going to be the case here for this one, especially at the very tail end of the race. Things will be helped a little bit at the start of the race with everyone stacked together and all the headlights combining into one big wash of light. But yeah, we got qualifying to get out of the way with first before we get into that sort of situation. Of course, no times have been set just yet. Drivers are on their first flying lap at the moment as we are riding on board with the number 17 car of Victor Miranda. I think I mentioned this before, Will. Number 17 is indeed my number.
Number 27 for me. There is no number 27 in the series. Maybe if I ever get good enough at racing, I can maybe one day join the series. No, it's never going to happen. Especially when you compare myself to Gibson, in particular, and Harrison. There's not a chance I'll ever make it into the still. But hey, those that can't do, teach. Those that can't race, they commentate. And that's why we're here today. Victor Miranda then, heading himself through. This is my least favourite part of the track, I have to say, Connery, but it's a good time to get yourself set up here for the final two corners on this track. And note the fact that they've got the pit entry just there. A lot of people think sometimes you go in at the turn 10, but it's actually just for the final corner, the last corner, where you actually do dive on towards pit road.
Yeah, it is. So again, another unique characteristic of this track that drivers have to deal with. And remember, they do have to deal with that pit lane over the course of this race. We don't usually have to deal with any pit lane shenanigans unless you have damage to the car or you have a drive-through penalty or anything like that. Everyone at some point over the course of this race will have to come down in and visit the pit lane once at least. So no stopping, it's just a drive all the way through at the pit lane speed limit and then back out onto circuit. So that's the situation the drivers have been given by the lucky dip, and that was due to everyone voting back home as to which lucky dip scenario we'll get, and well, we're getting all three because they all tied.
I do love the cornering for some of these turns here. You've got turn number 1 called first corner. Turn number 11 called last corner. Turn number 5, which is the hairpin, is called hairpin. So a lot of thought went into the corner naming here. The one thing I will say is that most of the time the corners are actually corners. Maybe the Moss S, we can get away with that one because they call it an S in the corner. We're on board with Brandon Hawkin in the number 99 car, representing Canada, and he is very close to the front of the field, actually. I've seen this in years gone by. It was actually the Sturgioses back in Grand Prix World Championship competition who were better at the Japanese racetracks, Suzuka, Okayama, than any other part of the World Championship season. So I do expect to see one or two drivers as an outlier here today who might not normally be as fast. Look at that Hawkin to the top of the timing stand at 1:36.5. 1.193 ahead of Kim, ahead of Gibson, ahead of Gunes. So we talk about surprises. This could well be a track where we see some people come up towards the top of the field.
We could. I live for it. That's great to see. Not that the British dominance is well good for my country and of course your country as well, Will. But it's good to see everyone getting themselves stuck in and up there. We've got Michael Polasek, the driver from the United States, from Full Send Racing, P6 at the moment. It's not a decent qualifying time for Polasek. Gibson, though, this is going to be a big recovery race from him. Anything short of a P1 or P2 is going to feel like a lost opportunity here, especially coming out of that previous event where he scored absolutely nothing. He needs to get his season, or at least his championship hopes, back on track immediately.
I do love the kind of checked shirt that he's wearing underneath his jersey. I mean, right now in my office, it's currently 26 degrees, but it's evidently much cooler in Thomas Gibson land. We've actually had snow again over the last couple of days. So after a heat wave a couple of weeks ago, it's gone back down to pretty much zero. Third place, Thomas Gibson. Look how close the times are as well. Just 37 1,000ths of a second back from Hawkin, and that puts him third. Kim is on pit road 3 minutes. I'm doing my maths right here. That's Kim out and done for qualifying. He won't get back. No, actually, he might. If he comes right back out, we'll get one more quick stab of the cherry, but he's got to be quickly out of pit road.
Look at the lap time from Hahn, just been put in. It's a crazy one. That's Jae-hee Hahn, first driver in the 136 flats, and that is a good 1/10 of a second ahead of Brandon Hawkins. So there's still time left in this circuit here, Will. It's not panic stations just yet for Core with their cars. Their highest place car is probably 4th place at the moment as Polasek heads his way through and across the line. Still P7 for the American, but not a British driver inside the top 3 cars. That's going to be the first time that has happened in a qualifying session this season.
Yeah, Jae-hee Hahn in the number 92 car. Will he try and do one more lap? Because he's got himself a little bit of a toe as they head down into the hairpin. We turn our attention back to Brandon Hawkin on a flyer, but a lot of traffic ahead of him. Or Brandon Hawkin into Mike Knight corner. He will come, and then he's got a couple more corners to go into Mike Knight corner. Now he comes. Last corner is just ahead of him. He wants that toe on the exit of the final corner. He's laughing and smiling. He doesn't think he's got it, or does he? It's a 1 minute 30. 6.2, not faster, but one more lap to go, and he gets a little bit bolt in towards turn number 1. You don't want to have a car going slower than you into first corner, because it upsets you all the way through Williams and then into the Mossettes.
Jae-hee Hahn, I just thought he went faster, but no, he's just on an outlap there. I saw 0.9 and I thought, wait, surely not, he hasn't broken into the 135s, but no, that's not the situation there. There is Kieran Harrison, though, of course, the big beneficiary coming out of the previous event, scoring maximum points once while his nearest contender in the Drivers' Championship scored 0. Now it is Guinness that's closest to him in the championship. Guinness currently down in 6th place at the moment, and not putting up the performance that Harrison is able to for the moment. But this is an interesting situation now for the Core Sim Racing guys. They haven't been in this situation before, where they haven't been occupying the top handful of spots here in this event. And, well, they need to pull something out here at the very end of qualifying to be able to get anywhere near that front row of the starting grid. And, well, Harrison has the draft from a teammate ahead here. That is the best situation for him. It is Marius Gollenbeck, who's been playing a very much a supporting role for Core over this season. And, well, Kieran Harrison out in the final corner now. Drive to the line. It is a 136 flat to beat.
And Brandon Hawkin is on pit road. He will take no further part in qualifying. Harrison, I think, came past the start-finish line just on time. He might get one more lap, but Jae-hee Hahn is on a flyer right now. This is his last chance as he works himself on towards pit road. So, no more qualifying time for Jae-hee Hahn, but he is at 136.034. Hawkin is in 2nd place right now. Looking at Gunmin Kim in the number 23 car. He has got about 30 seconds of his lap to go as he now heads himself into Redmond. turn number 8. The first of these two 180-degree corners down the inside of another car. That's one of the Indian drivers. It's through Hobbs Khan. Now, Mike Knight corner, turn number 10. And on towards pit road will come Kim as well. So no improvement for him.
No improvement over the course of that lap. And, well...
Did I just see Harrison go off?
Potentially. I'm just going to have a little bit of a look back at it myself. It did seem to be a relatively wide line. I'm not sure if he got himself an off-track penalty as a result of that, as Gollenbeck heads straight off the circuit, releases Harrison.
That wasn't deliberate at all.
Yeah, Harrison's pulling it down towards the pit lane. Harrison's not going to be able to get himself on the front row of the starting grid here today. It's a bit of a different qualifying session this time around, Will. It's Hahn and Hawkin that comprise the front row.
Great qualifying for Hawkin, a great qualifying by Hahn. Jahi Hahn, number 92 car, pole position for race number 6 here of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. What a qualifying we've just had. What an up and down qualifying we've had for all of our top drivers. There's been some great qualifying, or there's been some disappointing qualifying as well. And we're going to run through the starting grid in just a moment's time. But you can see the sun definitely now behind the mountains here in Okayama. And we are set for 20 minutes worth of racing in a moment's time. Jahi Hahn, pole position then for South Korea. Brandon Hawkin for Canada alongside him. United Kingdom's Kieran Harrison in 3rd place. South Korea's Kim in 4th. Thomas Gibson, P number 5 for the United Kingdom. And Courtin Gunes in P number 6 for France.
Yeah, there's the top 6. Scrolling back, though, we've got Marius Gollenbeck in P7 with Victor Miranda starting in 8th. Michael Polasek starts in 9th with Jake Maloney in 10th. Mackenzie Cornish starts in 11th place with Jake Blackhall in 12th here today.
And go back to P number 13 on track, and you will see the number 91 car of Roberto Ferrari looking to get a better race than what he had last time out. Marcel T, P14 for Germany. Gael Valero, P15 for France. Simone Medica, 16th place for Italy. Brazil's Fabio Zampolini in 17th place. And Jose Morado in P18 for Mexico.
Back of the field, we got Junho Zhang as one of our invited drivers. Then it's the 2 Indians in 20th and 21st, Vyasheth and Aditya Patanik. And then we've got Edgar Lau, our replacement United States driver, starting in P22. Quite far off the drift of the pole time, 3.8 seconds back in that session. So drivers are taking themselves to the starting grid now. And, well, it's not even really a quote-unquote starting grid. It's lining up behind the pace car.
For the first time this season, we have got ourselves a rolling start here at the Okayama International Circuit, and that is a look at the iRacing official pace car. We've not got a full pace lap here. It'll be the short pace lap. They are currently on the backstretch between turn number 7 and turn number 8. So in between Piper and Redmond Corner. Have a quick look on board, shall we, with one of our drivers. You know, this track was originally called TI Circuit Ada, and the abbreviation are Tanaka International. Then the track was sold off, and now it's known as Okayama International Circuit. Pace car starts to pick up the pace. It will be Jahi Hahn in the number 92 car who has control of the field once our pace car heads on towards pit road. Once Jahi Hahn accelerates, he must go. Must floor it. He's not allowed to do the shenanigans that we've seen so far in the F1 season behind safety cars. None of that. That pace car going to make that dance right towards pit road, and Jahi Hahn can go whenever he wants to now. And the start finish straight, he goes on the exit of last corner. 20 minutes worth of racing here at Okayama International Circuit starts now.
Great run and turn in towards turn number 1 for Hahn there. It's going to be British Corson Racing driver down the inside of Kim here, giving Kim. So this has got Thomas Gibson trying to improve position here early on. We've got a spinner in the back though. That's Victor Miranda having major problems in front of traffic. Everyone's just trying to avoid that one. We saw Mackenzie Cornish go off as well. He's had a heavy impact with the barrier on the outside of turn 2.
Yeah, so a couple of big incidents early on in this race. Edgar Lowe's down in P number 18. Mackenzie Corners down in 19th place, and way far down, Victor Miranda and Marcel T are both on pit road. So Germany, after getting into 3rd place in the championship, the country championship, they are going to have a much tougher day. Mackenzie Corners is now also on pit road. Remember the rule: anywhere between the end of this lap and the start of the white flag lap, all drivers must come and make a trip through pit lane. They do not have to take any tyres, but they must make sure that they drive through pit lane and do not get themselves, of course, a speeding penalty. It's the number 92 car of Jahi Han leading the way. Brandon Hawkin in 2nd place, Grimm Kim in 3rd, Harrison 4th, Gibson 5th. I expect all the course sim racing drivers to come on towards pit road right now. Are they going to prove me wrong? Yeah, I think they are. Everyone's staying out on track. Everyone's staying out on track.
We've got, well, yeah, everyone. Actually, I do see a spot car heading their way down on towards the pit lane this time around. Is that Zampolini? Yeah, it is Zampolini that has come down in the first time of asking, just on that pit lane speed limiter, and well, continuing on his way down the field. But we have a great fight here between Jae-hee Han and Gi-min Kim at the moment, because Han, well, seen to have lost position. There's Hawkin up in towards P1 now. So great stuff there from the Canadian. He leads this event, and well, Han 2nd place for the moment. We'll see how it happened. Jae-hee Han all sorts of sideways, well held though. Wow.
I know we're in Japan, but there's no use for drifting around this racetrack. Hawkin, 4/10 of a second advantage over Jae-hee Han. Kim in 3rd, Harrison 4th, and that was Kim just giving a bit of a love tap almost to Jae-hee Han as they work themselves through the middle section of the racetrack, through Revolver, through Piper, onto this 3rd straightaway here. It's a short one, but you can slot it down the inside into Redmond if you really, really want to. So, the top 3 separated by less than 1 second right now. As we say, RaceSpot.tv/timing if you want to keep up to date with which drivers are coming on towards pit road and when. We got one driver coming on towards pit road. That is Gibson by the looks of it, who's made that journey down towards pit road, or Gunes. No, it's Gibson, definitely Gibson on towards pit road.
You can see that with the pit notification on the left-hand side of the screen. We've got another car in as well, Valero. Valero has also decided to come in as well. There's another driver in the background deciding that now is the time to get that drive-through served. So if you're unfamiliar, if you're just tuning in, this might look a little bit weird to you with people driving through the pit lane and not stopping. Everyone, because of the lucky dip scenario that was voted for by the audience, has to come down on towards the pit lane at some point over the course of this race. Doesn't have to stop though, so that's what everyone's doing. A few takers here early on as we're looking at the fight at the front. Hawkin under all sets of pressure from behind. Han is not giving him an inch to breathe, and while sitting that closely behind, coming down the back straight, is going to give him a whole bunch of draft. Wednesday looks left, looks right, looks left again. Now outside for the braking zone.
Yeah, into the hairpin they come, a touch, and that's going to push Han wide, and now Kim might have a look down the inside as they come into Revolver, and a lot more contact behind. That was with one of the core sim racing cars of Harrison. Kim and Harrison making contact as they work through Revolver, and then Piper. The lights are flashing, abound by Harrison right now. He, quite frankly, is a little bit cheesed off. That's what we're allowed to say anyway. But Hawkin, as a consequence of that, gets a little bit of breathing room because Han was all over the rear of Hawkin, heading down towards the hairpin, but couldn't make it stick. And we've got one of the other core drivers on towards pit road. That is going to be Gunes coming in. I was just thinking, if you're Gibson, you needed to do something a little bit different here. So Gibson came in first, now Gunes and Polasek are on pit road.
Yeah, so crucial decisions being made here. The core guys, or at least a few of them, feeling that they are getting a little bit held up here. So Gibson in, then of course Guinness the lap later. So let's see what they can do in relatively clear air. Gibson is the first of the cars that had taken themselves the drive-through. There's Yasher heading his way down the pit lane as well, so he's getting that out of the way inside the first 6 minutes of this event as well. So the standings are Hawkin, Han, Kim, Harrison, for the top 4. Then Marius Goldenbeck P5. So 2 Core Sim Racing cars have served the drive-through, 2 yet to. And of course, we have both the Koreans and Hawkin also not serving things just yet. It's just a matter of when at this point, because it seems like Hahn does have the pace currently over Hawkin. You can just see how he's just all over the back of him in the toe here. I have to wonder, the plan might be for Hahn to come down on towards the pit lane at the end of this one, just to get out of the way of that, but then that might drop him back into the clutches of Gibson and Guinness that have already come down in.
Yeah, there's a replay. We see number 17 go, hits the wall, spins around. That is Zampolini. Start of the race there. Just wanted to let you know, Michael Polisek currently is the fastest driver down through pit road. You see, Kenzie Corney said that was his incident that put him out of the race. He's on an 18.1 second pit lane. It's been 18.3 for Gibson, 18.2 for Corzine Gunes. What that time does not include, though, is of course slowing down to the start of the pit lane. Pit lane in our timing and scoring is defined by yellow cones and then the green cones at the end of the pit. All the drivers in this front group have stayed out on track this time around, so no one decided to come in. We're on board with Jahi Hahn. By the way, that car looks much stronger than Hawkin through that first sector. Into outward curve they come. This corner starts off tight, and then you just want to let that wheel drift off the exit of the corner. Now, remember, Hawkin's only allowed to make one defensive move on this back straightaway, but into hairpin right now. Hawkins staying on the left-hand side of the track. Jahi Hahn dives it down to the inside, in towards the hairpin, gets himself alongside. The next corner revolver is a left-hander. Hawkin has the racing line. Hawkin able to stay in the race lead.
And all this fighting is just hemorrhaging time for this entire group back to those that have already come down on towards the pit lane. So Gibson's getting out of this one. Guinness is gaining a whole bunch out of this as well. The longer these guys fight, the more likely that Gibson and Guinness are going to come out at the very front of this field once the guys at the front decide to come down in and serve their drive-through. So this is all working against them at the moment, and well, Hawkin is well within his right to try and defend as much as possible under a huge amount of pressure from Hahn. But Hahn,
Harrison's in.
Yeah, Harrison's in, but Hahn, he needs to try and find a way by so quickly, because this getting caught up behind Hawkin here is not doing his race any good.
Corzine Gunes 139 on his outlap. It's 136.3 last time by for Thomas Gibson. Compare that to your leaders, who did a 137.1 that last time by. So this is the issue. You stay out on track and it all starts going off at the front of the field, you're losing almost a second a lap right now to the guys who have pitted and are likely running in clean air. It's half a second between Hawkin and Hahn. In fact, Hahn more likely to be under pressure from his countryman Gumin Kim right now as they work down the back straightaway. I want to see where they are in the middle of the pack. Gibson is ahead of Harrison, and Harrison is ahead of Gunes right now, and they are all within a second of each other, but Thomas Gibson leads that train.
Yeah, he does, and well, might end up leading this race once everyone comes down on towards the pits. It's it's a strategic goal for the Core Sim Racing guys back there to come down in that early. They might have sensed that Hawkin and Hahn were going to fight tooth and nail at the very front of the field, so they decided to come down in early, making sure that they weren't caught up in that. They were able to run in clear air, and it's paid them a huge amount with regards to gained time at the moment. So yeah, this race getting more and more complex by the moment. We're riding on board with Kim and Kim at the moment, who is similarly stuck in this leading pack at the moment. And well, that's not a slight against Brandon Hawkins' place. He's doing, he got himself up onto the front row of the starting grid. He's got himself into the current lead of this race, at least with the pit stops being the way they are. He has absolutely every right to try and maintain track position.
I've got to be honest with you, there's no way that these four are going to come out at the front of your field. I'll tell you why. It's 15.5 seconds right now between Hawkin and Gibson. Gibson at 136.7 last time by. It's the same at the front of your field, but if the pit lane, you're doing 18.3. You've got to remember, of course, you're not stopped. Yeah. You are still going at pit road speed, but I would argue right now that Gibson, Harrison have clearly got this one I think the leaders were kind of feeding around Quentin Gunes. If they would come in right now, look at how close this one is, as Hawkin being forced out the way, and then you see Kim almost looping his car, but Hahn has got himself to the front of the field. Jahi Hahn, ultra aggressive, getting himself to the lead of this race. Hawkin down into second. If you're Hawkin, maybe now you might think about coming on towards pit road. Now you've lost the lead of the race.
Yeah, that's got to be the option now for Hawkin. The longer he stays out there, the more he's going to get frustrated with the drivers around him, because that was a very aggressive move from Jahi Hahn to get himself up into the race lead. Hahn now, it would be a mistake to immediately come down on towards the pit lane. He needs to use as much of this clear air as is possible to try and claim some time back to Gibson, Harrison, Guinness that have already come down in. So that's what he's doing now. Hahn does not come down on towards the pit lane. I would hazard a guess Hahn might even come down at the very, very last moment here to try and capitalize on all this clean air at the front.
I absolutely love races like this, because it becomes a mixture of a driver's race. As you see the move there, and it just seemed to be Hahn was waiting for the gap. The chrome horn came out, he found the gap and got himself to the race lead. And actually, the very end of that replay there, I didn't notice that the first time around. Hawkin drove right into the rear, gave the love tap back over Hahn, but Hahn was able to hold his car as they worked through Revolver. So Hahn leads the race. The drivers yet to have pitted: Jahi Hahn, Brandon Hawkin, Gumin Kim, Marius Gonnenbeck, Jake Maloney, Berta Ferrari, and Jake Blackhole, as well as Jose Miranda Martinez as well. But the drivers who have pitted, you've got Gibson leading from Harrison, Gunas in third, Connor second, fourth, Gail Valero fifth in that train. As I said, Connery, I love this racing because you've got the elbows out aggressiveness, and then the thinking man's race. It's the Senna and the Prost.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I can't wait to see how this one turns out. Of course, I still feel like the ball is certainly in Gibson's and Harrison's and Guinness's court at the moment, because they in the background have been working very well in their lap times. Guinness going fastest of everyone, for example, that last time around the circuit. So the core guys are coming. It's just a matter of where they'll come out in relation to these guys at the very front. I get the feeling they'll come out ahead. It's just by a matter of how much.
It's very interesting to note that's how dark the track is, because Brandon Hawkin, we could see his face properly in the last race at Phillip Island. The darkness is very thankful that we have those little lights on the side of that Logitech G headset. By the way, thank you very much to our sponsors, Logitech G, Hankook Tires, and Africa TV for this series. 6 minutes 30 to go, and there's still at least two chapters of this race that needs to be written. The first one is, can Hahn pull away? The second one is, where all these drivers come out once they made their pit stop. It's interesting to note, Gonnenbeck hasn't pitted yet. I think he's taken the alternate strategy just in case the craziness happens and these top four actually manage to make it out on front, but I don't think they are. 136.6 last time by Jahi Hahn. Compared that to 136.7 actually for Thomas Gibson. There are literally tenths of a second in it right now between these drivers.
Yeah, I think so too. This is shaping up to be a great one. Of course, we were riding on board there with Kim and Kim just for a couple of moments. Does anyone decide to head their way down and in this time around? I do not think so. Careful up over the curb, Hawkin. That can very, very much upset the car if he hits the curb all wrong, but he seems to have been able to get away with it now, as Kim would have the slipstream here on the way in towards turn number one, so a potential move for P2 coming up here. We had Jake Maloney actually come down on towards the pit lane. He's serving his mandatory drive through. There he is in number 29.
When you say drive through, it's the regulatory drive through.
Yeah.
It's not out of speed. So don't worry. Jake Maloney then through pit lane, and he's going to come out about 5th or 6th in line by the looks of it. At the front of your field is still business as usual. Or the Koreans. Don't forget, the Koreans haven't actually won a race so far this season. They have led laps, both Jahi Hahn and Gumin Kim, but they have not yet won a race. Don't forget, at the very start of the series, we had our 2 rounds at Silverton and Knock Hill. They were both leading, both passing out with 4. However, they had incidents. They had off tracks. They had a little bit of calamity. They fell down the order. This is the closest towards the end of the race that we've actually seen these two Korean drivers in the shot of good podium positions. And I have to say, Goo-min Kim starting to put pressure right now onto Brandon Hawkin.
Yeah, he is. And, well, Hawkin has to make that Hyundai pretty wide now to try and keep these cars behind him. The strategy in this race for Hawkin is different from those around him, I get the feeling. Hawkin, he's just holding on to track position with dear life at the moment. He knew that whole position lap was a little out of the ordinary for him. He's going to try and milk it for all it's worth as we see a car down on towards the pit lane. Is that is Brandon Hawkin? He's coming down in now.
You notice just how dark that pit lane is as well. That makes it a little bit harder for those drivers coming in late, but Hawkin is on pit road. We've got Roberto Ferrari on pit road and Jake Blackhall. So now the only three drivers not yet to pit are the two Koreans and Marius Grottenbeck at this point. I sure hope the Korean drivers got the memo in the driver's briefing and they're not going to go towards the end of the race because they'll get a massive time penalty if they did that. They are 1-2 on the racetrack right now. And look at that, Hawkin feeds right in to this battle with Gibson and Harrison. So actually, Jae Han and Goo-min Kim could well still end up 1-2.
Yeah, it might be, well, coming on to the last lap, it might be a good, well, rather 2 laps to go. It might be with race control reminding them, hey, you two, you still need to come down and do that drive-through. But here we go then, 3 minutes left to go here in this one. Of course, well, they can't do it on the final lap, Michael Schumacher-esque. They have to do it on the lap before. It's going to be the latest that they'll be able to do it.
So it will have to be at the end of the next lap. Simple as that. You've got yourself right in the middle of that is Brandon Hawkin. Go split screen. You show you Jae Han, number 92 car, leading the race, and Goo-min Kim, number 23 car, in second place. Are they going to do it this lap? Are they going to do it next lap? They're not coming in yet.
Oh, sorry for talking over. Yeah,
Yes,
they are coming in now. So Han is in, Kim is in, both the Koreans with a simultaneous decision. The only one staying out there is Marius Grottenbeck. He's basically the core banker option at the moment. He's going on the alternate strategy to try and figure out something that might work. But sorry for talking over you there, Will. That was a bit confusing.
That's okay. We just want to emphasize, we said the banker option for Marius Grottenbeck there, nothing else. We love you, Marius. And they come out then. Where are they going to be? They're side by side almost as they come out on pit road. And look at that. It is going to be Gibson with the lead. Hawkin scrapping it out then with Kim for second place. And it is a literal pit party as they come on a pit road and a spin. That is Jae Han. From the exit of pit road, he comes back onto track. We talked about Koreans having self-inflicted issues. Jae Han, number 92, has one.
Yeah, well, that's lost points there for South Korea, but the race is still on. Goo-min Kim still has a chance at doing this to try and get himself past Gibson. Of course, we're still waiting for Grottenbeck to head his way down on towards the pit lane and see where he's going to file out in relation to all of this. I would have guessed all behind it, but there we go. There's it coming off the pit lane. Contact coming through turn number 1, a little bit between the cars, and well, actually it's through there as we see Jae Han shoved off the exit of turn 2 and out into the grass on the inside, able to avoid all the traffic coming and bearing down on him. But we are coming up towards the last lap here, Will. 1 lap for these drivers to settle their differences as Jae Han, well, excuse me, Goo-min Kim, well, they've already taken they haven't taken the 1 lap to go yet. They're just going their way through the final corner. I'm just going to get my bearings here. 30 seconds left to go. Run towards the start-finish line. Grottenbeck is in at the very last opportunity. And now, can Thomas Gibson hold on? It would be a great recovery from that first race if he's able to get this.
Indeed so. And he's going to get himself side by side with Grottenbeck. Grottenbeck will feed up into 3rd place all the time being, but the full send car is going to go round, and they're going to be side by side even. That is not the full send car, that's Hawkin. Scrapping it out with Grottenbeck. Grottenbeck running wide then through Williams as they now come into the Moss S for the final time. The controversial part of me would like to have a look at the white line for Goo-min Kim on the outpit there, because he was very close to that white line on pit exit. We'll talk about that one though after the race, because right now Gibson is leading. Kim is in second. They are too wide, too deep, and they're scrapping it out for the race lead. Gibson, Kim make contact as they come into the hairpin, but it's Gibson who holds on through turn number 5. The inside line will open up momentarily into Revolver for Gumin Kim, but he's not able to get the move then. Gibson elbows out with Kim. Let's not forget what happened last time out at Phillip Island, but Gibson now is just a handful of corners away as they come down into Redmond. Turn number 8. We're on board with Gumin Kim, who now just 3 corners to go. It is Gibson leading the way. Kim is in second place. 2 corners left to go in this race, and Gibson now just has to make it through one final curve, but Kim trying to go around the outside. We can almost have a photo finish here at Okayama, but it's Gibson who just claims victory then. The closest finish of the season. Kim in second, Hawk in third, Beck in fourth, and then Harrison rounds out your top 5. That was mighty close on the final lap. They were going too wide, 3 deep, Connery. Gibson and Kim making contact again, but after finishing dead last time by, Gibson victorious in the night at Okayama.
That was an incredible final lap, my words. That was crazy stuff between, well, in amongst the entire top grouping of cars. We saw that last fight on the way down into the hairpin between Gibson and Kim, and it wasn't over just then. They did have a couple of taps, even in through the final sector, more love taps from Kim and Kim, trying to unsettle Thomas Gibson and force him wide, but it simply didn't happen. There was an opening for the draft race down the pit straight, given the timing line is a little bit further down the straight than we're used to seeing at most circuits, but even that didn't come to fruition for Gumin Kim, as Thomas Gibson, well, you said it, Will, he no points in the first race, but maximum at race 2.
Yeah, from nil point to point maximum, as I think my GCSE level French will explain to me, and I'll come on towards pit road. Yo 4 claims victory, and I tell you what, the rolling start, yeah, it was fine. The day-night race, yeah, that was fine. I tell you what, that journey through pit road, we'll talk about that one in a moment. That is exceptional. Thomas Gibson then claiming victory by an 1/8 of a second. Exactly. The only time I'm allowed to say the word 1/8 and get away with it on a broadcast. Over Gumin Kim from South Korea. Brandon Hawkin claims a podium for Canada in 3rd place. And Marius back in 4th for Germany. And Kieran Harrison, P5 for United Kingdom. Gunez, Ponisek, Maloney, Ferrari, and Blackhall round out your top 10 fastest lap. Gumin Kim, lap number 4 for Korea. Then you've got Gail Valero in 11th place, Fabio Zampolini 12th, Simone Medica 13th. Again, 2 Indians scoring points here. So from nothing to 2 points finishes for Patnaik and Veer-Sheaf. Rest of those results up on your screen right now. Jahi Harm, P19, after the calamity at turn number 2 on his outlap. Marcel T, Mackenzie Corney's out early after incidents. That's going to really change the country standings that we'll go through in a moment's time. So, yeah, I think the lucky dip wins out again because, as I said, the rolling start, okay, that was fine. The day-night, it was nice going into the night here for the first time this season. But really, it was all about that drive-through pit lane. And there are your official standings. Now, 6 points separate the 2 British drivers. And then it's 17 points between Harrison and Courtin Gunez. Beck now P4 in the championship. Jake Maloney in 5th. Brandon Hawkins, Dale Valero, Gumin Kim, Victor Miranda, Jake Blackhall. They are your top 10. What a race we just had as the rest of those points come through now on your screen. Worth noting that Jose Morado drops down to P number 20. Aditya Patnaik comes up to P19 with 2 point scoring positions here today. We now just only have a handful of drivers who have yet to score a point in this Hyundai N Festival Global League for 2022. I am very lucky that we get to take a breather in a moment and hand it over to Mr. Team Thai, Arjuna Kankapati, because that was just exceptional. there are your unofficial country standings. 228 points now for United Kingdom. Gibson and Harrison, they keep on able to get good results, even if they don't always claim the W themselves. They still end up with 2 drivers in the top 5, if we excuse what happened with that Phillip Island. France, second place, 145. Germany maintain 3rd place despite the incident with Marcel T. Australia 2 points back. Oof, Connery. Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I basically stood up from my chair on that last lap there. That was absolutely incredible. We'll get rid of the Wolfie for now. We'll show our lovely faces. But yeah, that was crazy stuff. You know, I was kind of like this. Hello, I'm going to clip off the screen for a little bit. Hello. Because I had no idea what was going to happen in that final lap. Of course, we expected Gibson to come out with the advantage there. However, it wasn't as big as we first thought. That Kim was able to gain a little bit more time on those laps after he got past Hawkin. That crucial half a second or so gave him the opportunity to go for the race seat. Has netted him P2 for this one, but that could have been the first South Korean win over the in this series. Of course, there are still post-race reviews to be done by our race administrator to see if there's any incidents to look at and any penalties that needed to be applied coming out of Okayama. But yeah, that was tense. I want more races like that.
Yeah, and again, as I said, the lucky dip really did win out on that with that mandatory drive through pit lane. I like to call it the Joker lap, really, because that's what it is in road racing. You don't have, in iRacing in particular, like having MotoGP, you have the little dodgy bit like you have to do. You're being a bad boy or girl, of course. But next time out, don't forget, you've either got points for fastest lap, points for pole position, or mandatory pit stop. So this time they have to come on towards pit road, change at least one tyre, and go from there. RaceSpot.WTF/lucky dip. I can tell you right now, 2/3 of the votes have gone for the mandatory pit stop, and I'm not going to lie to you, Connery, I kind of, and I know I'm not allowed to influence it, but based on what we've seen today, that mandatory pit lane, mandatory pit stop, it shows us actually how close the racing really is. The 2 alternate strategies, they all came together. 6 drivers, 2 wide, 3 deep, final lap of the race into the hairpin.
Yeah, more of that. But the thing is, the difference this time is that it's an actual pit stop rather than a drive-through penalty. If that's the option chosen coming into the next race day, they have to take a minimum of 1 tyre, which is a callback to when Virasco and the SimSports did that in the World Championship GT event a good couple of years ago. You can try and repeat that as long as you can take 1 tyre into Touring Cars. I'm not sure if you can actually, but there we go. Again, points for fastest lap, points for pole position, and those are going to be potentially crucial with the championship as close as this one. We've got about a minute before we get ourselves our World Feed interviews with Arjuna, and well, I can't wait to see how the drivers are going to react to that. There might be some choice words, perhaps, from Gibson, some of the course sim racing guys, with some of the racing they were subjected to out there today. So I'll be interested to see and hear their thoughts on that.
Indeed so. 45 seconds away then until we head ourselves to our press conference. I think that they needed the couple of minutes at the very least to grab a glass of water and to cool down after that race, because what we've seen today, once again, 2 exceptional races. First one at Phillip Island, the bashing that was going on all the way through the field, and then chaos, drama, everything. Okayama really does know how to put on a good race when we go over to the world of touring car racing. It was Thomas Gibson then who claimed victory from Goomin Kim, Brandon Hawkin, Canada's first podium of the season, Marius Gonnenbeck, Kieran Harrison with your top 5. Let's hand it over to Arjuna Kankapati for driver interviews.
Another exhilarating weekend of action. What more could you want for in this Hyundai N Festival Global League? And once more, unfortunately, I get to talk to Thomas Gibson. Unfortunately for him, because he seems to keep having success. But let's not talk about the success, Thomas. Let's talk about race 1 and the incident that you had into turn 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, these things happen. I had a feeling coming into this week that Phillip Island was going to be one of those tracks where you could get taken out quite easily, just with the way the corners and the runoff run into one another. So yeah, that was really unfortunate, and it's put a pretty big dent in my championship challenge. But thankfully, we made up with it in the second race today.
And then the lucky dip, you didn't get one surprise, not two surprises, but three surprises thrown at you. Most significantly, I think, was the night race changing the way that I guess you find your braking zones. But the mandatory trip down pit lane, we saw you come in early. Was that to try and just get out of the action pack that we were seeing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I had a bad qualifying, so I had to roll the dice a wee bit. I could see, well, knowing the drivers who were actually at the front, I knew they were quite aggressive drivers, and they would start racing with one another. So I knew if I could pit early and run my own lines, run my own to my own delta, that I could overhaul them. And luckily I did. Yeah.
Got to ask you as well, what does a rolling start mean in this car compared to a standing start? Sprint style racing in a TCR car, usually sprint, endurance style, a rolling start. You've experienced both. What does it change?
Yeah, well, you don't need to find your clutch point, but yeah, I actually prefer the standing starts.
Interesting. Congratulations, Thomas. I know race 1 didn't go your way, but again, continuing the good run with a victory in race 2. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you.
And over now to his core sim racing teammate. Let's jump over to race 1 winner this weekend, Kieran Harrison, another driver who we're getting rather familiar with here in our post-race interviews. Kieran, race 1, nice and smooth for you at the front, not so smooth for those behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I was under a lot of pressure immediately from Kim, but I'm not really sure. I haven't looked back at the incident, but it felt to me like there wasn't a lot of blame for me. So just really unlucky for Thomas when he got taken out, but it did have the effect of relieving the pressure on me a bit, and then I just managed to control the race and take the win.
Now, talk to me again about, what happened in race number 2 with the pit stop. We saw you and a bunch of your teammates box early, trying to get out of the danger zone. You had to carve through some traffic and some interesting battles with the cars rejoining who pitted a bit later.
Yeah, I think as it worked out with Marius and Thomas pitted immediately and Marius pit right at the end, and they both jumped me in the pits. So maybe I did a bit of the worst of both worlds with that, but I could see how aggressive the cars ahead with me were going to be. So I just kind of wanted to get out of that danger zone, and I was quite happy to follow Thomas around, see if we could jump them in the pits. And yeah, I think I had an incident with Han when he rejoined, but again, I feel like he just turned in completely on me. There's nothing I could do about that.
Well, half the championship is done, just 2 weekends left to go. Leading the championship, leading the team championship as well, you must be quite happy with how you performed so far, but you can't relax. What are you thinking about this back half of the campaign?
Well, it's Daytona that I'm really worried about. It's a bit unpredictable with the draft, but aside from that, just got to keep doing what I'm doing. It seems to work so far, so hopefully the luck and the fortune continues for me.
Well, good job today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully Daytona plays nicely for you. But now we get to talk to someone new for the first time. No core sim racing driver. Instead, it's an SRC Movano and a Canadian, Brandon Hawkin. Big smile on your face, Brandon. Your best result coming into this race was only a 5th, but you must be delighted to get up on the podium now.
Yeah, it was great. Man, yeah, it's been a struggle so far, trying to figure everything out, and I've been improving just a little bit every single week, and I think this week we finally found a part in the setup where it didn't really make much sense to me, but I think it really helped a lot. And so yeah, we're getting there. We're getting really close. And man, I was so surprised to get a second coming into Okayama for qualifying. But man, yeah, I think gives a lot of momentum going into the next rounds. I felt pretty good at Phillip Island as well, just missing a little bit at the very beginning and then a little bit at the end, and made a little bit of a mistake there. Didn't put enough gas in, but we'll fix that for next time. And yeah, it was overall just a really good day, some really tough, hard-fought battles, and yeah, we'll see what we can do next time.
It's interesting you talk about the setup, because your team, SRC Movano, not really known for TCR. We see you in LMP2s, GTs a couple of times. I've seen plenty of your drivers in MX5s. Have you been getting much help behind the scenes to prepare for these races week in, week out?
Yeah, we don't have too much as far as TCR drivers. So yeah, it's I've been working a lot with Mac, and yeah, try and get our Club Canada points. as good as we can. And yeah, we've just been plugging along, trying to like fix one thing at a time. And yeah, like of course, yeah, we have some we're really good in other areas, but we haven't really done too much TCR. So I really like these things though. So I'm really happy to be driving these. They're a ton of fun. And yeah, just yeah, we don't have like a whole like big group to like bounce ideas off of and stuff, but it's been you know, it's like I've been like asking questions, and you know, we've been able to get it so where we're almost there, I think. So yeah, just a little bit more tweaking, and I think yeah, I think we should be pretty all right in the coming rounds, hopefully.
How much are you working with your Canadian teammate Mace Cornice in the build up to these races?
Yeah, so yeah, we usually set up a couple practice sessions leading up to the race, and yeah, we just like go over different like setup adjustments, and just seeing what works, what doesn't, and like depending on the track. Like I know Montreal, we went like completely in the opposite direction with some things, and that helped a lot. So yeah, we and then for other tracks that like aren't as bumpy, you don't go over as many curves. We were trying something else, and we kind of went off of what we use for interlagos and tweaked it a little bit, and it seems to be working out. So, but yeah, I mean, next time we'll see if we can keep going a little bit further, and yeah, see if we can get that speed so we can compete regularly up at the front.
Heading to some tracks more familiar to you. Congratulations on the result here, Brandon. That's going to wrap up our post-race interviews. Let's jump back over to our team at RaceSpotTV.
Thanks very much, Arjuna. Connery, highlights, take them away.
Well, what a chaotic race that we had here at Okayama. It was one filled with strategy. Of course, it was the usual affair down in towards turn number 1, multiple instances of side-by-side action. This was, well, after what was a pretty interesting qualifying session as well, with Jae-hee Han able to get himself up into pole position, Brandon Hawkin joining him on the front row. It was all clean at the very front with regards to the start of the race. Cars in the barrier. That was Mackenzie Cornice finding the tile wall on the exit of turn number 2. Things developed there from there further. We've got ourselves Victor Miranda contact and then spinning in front of traffic in through the first sector as well. There's the incident from Mackenzie Cornice as he found the tyre barrier on the exit of turn 2. More situations though on the circuit, at least for the first half of the race. We saw the early call for Thomas Gibson to head his way down on towards the pit lane. That was going to be a crucial decision with regards to how this race was decided. There's the early pass of the race lead as Jae-hee Han made a mistake that allowed Brandon Hawkin to get himself up into the race lead. And I have to say, Will, that little error from Han might have changed the complexion of this race entirely, because it would have allowed Hawkin to get to the front of the field and then stack them all up behind him and allow those early stoppers to gain so much of an advantage.
Indeed, so as we have a look then, back half of the highlights here, we see more drivers coming down towards pit road. It really came down to, do you pit early, do you pit in the middle, or do you pit late on? And all three of those strategies decided to merge themselves into one. There's the battle then for the race lead. Hawkin versus the number 92 car, as we've seen so often. And that time, unfortunately, it was, well, I say fortunately if you're Hawkin, he was able to keep with the race lead. It's unfortunate if you are the Korean driver of Jae-hee Han. But here's where it's a little bit different as we have a look at other replays. Number 94, that's a scrap going on. That was with the Full Send Racing American car. The thing is, Connery, it was all a little bit confusing in terms of the timing, and then in a moment, it all comes back together.
Yep, it does. And, well, it was a big battle coming off of the pit lane. Of course, bits of contact involved in this one as well, as drivers tried to sort themselves out. And, well, it was one of the better finishes that we've seen all season long. He was battling for P3, 4, 5 as well, further back through the order in that second half of the event. There was the big move towards the inside and a big attempt for Brandon Hawkin to hold on to this race lead. But the thing is, that was Jae-hee Han heading his way through. I'm getting my chronology all sorts of mixed up here at the moment, so just do bear with me. But, you know, this was all the fighting that allowed Gibson, Guinness et al. all to try and catch up and get themselves in race-winning positions. And with the continued battle through the final corner there, that's just how much lost time that you can really get in this sort of situation. And there we go. There's the little bit of contact coming off the corner as well in and amongst those two. This is the crucial moment, though. Drivers coming off of pit lane, Gibson re-inheriting the race lead, and well, Han getting himself involved in that situation, or not Han, excuse me, but yeah, it's Hawkin all involved in this one, and well, it set us up for a great grandstand finish. There's the 2x2 coming off of pit lane, and by the way, you were wondering about the white line there, Will. Looks like they were fine.
Clean. It was clean, and I needed to see the angle, but it was very clean. They came out side by side, the two Korean drivers, and then Jae Han loops it around, and bam! Into the wall he goes there. That was pretty much his day done. As we then see the last car, or two, that was Gronenbeck coming out of pit road, the last of the lot, and it's not over yet. We've still got half a lap plus worth of racing to go. They end up getting themselves too wide, too deep, all the way through the field. A bit of scrapping going on between the Corsi Racing German car of Gronenbeck and Brandon Hawkin, as this was the last lap and towards the start-finish line. It is Britain winning once again. Thomas Gibson, 04 car, a sigh of relief. Last in the first race, first in the second race. I'll get my words done together. It's almost midnight here as we have a look. There we are. Once again, your race winner, Thomas Gibson, in the 04 car. I'll get it right this time by. Last in race number 1, victory in race number 2. And of course, that moves him back up through the driver's standings after what was a pretty miserable day for him at Phillip Island when he had that car T-boned down at the Southern Loop. I do want to talk to you a little bit more about that one, Connery, very quickly. Yes, it was an incident. But you've got to remember, if you end up pushing wide at turn 1 at Phillip Island, it's a little bit like other tracks we've been to around the world. A bit like, for example, if you go to Canada, there's that one racetrack that always we talk about. It kind of like the grass, it's like ice. Phillip Island, turn 1, it is just like that. And the thing is, there is nowhere to go because you are going to cut back across the track before you know it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do empathise with the situation. It's basically you got to pick one option: either lock up the brakes, slide across the grass, and then you're basically like a projectile just shooting across the circuit, or try and lift off the brakes a little bit, try and regain a little bit of the control to try and find the gap. But then again, you're carrying more speed as a result. So again, it's an impossible situation. We'll see what the stewards have to say about that, whether or not any penalty is warranted and how harsh of a penalty is warranted. Of course, they will be looking at mitigating circumstances such as that with just no control across the grass. I don't think him really had a choice about where he was going to come on the circuit there.
I tell you what, this has been the busiest race control have been, and they're not done yet. I've got to run over and talk to them after this one. They need a third opinion for the first time this season. I already know there's at least 2 protests that have come in as well. Round number 7 of the championship will see us go to another short circuit, Lime Rock Park. It's a track that you normally do in under a minute. In fact, that's your first target on iRacing, do a lap at Lime Rock Park in under a minute. And then after that, we go to Daytona Night Course, Daytona Road Course at night even. So we go to the place where the endurance race of the season starts under the light at Daytona International. And it will be, again, a rolling start, and it will, again, be a night race. But you can choose what else will be added to that mix. Will it be a mandatory 1 tyre plus pit stop? Will it be points for the fastest lap? Will it be point for pole position? Go over to racebot.wtf/lucky dip, and you can vote now on what drivers will be doing 2 weeks' time. You've got 1 week to vote, and if you retweet and tell us what option you've chosen, you could be in the chance of winning a special Hyundai remote control car, just like Richard Davis from the United Kingdom won by voting last time out. Incredible day's worth of racing. I'm still Will Vincent, that guy. That guy is Connery Maddock. I get it right almost every time today. We're going to wrap it up in a moment here, Connery, but again, it's been 2 great rounds worth of racing. Again, the British drivers have been, incredible all the way through. We say British drivers, actually, it's coursing racing who've been dominant in this championship, intertwined for the majority of it with the 2 Korean drivers. And this time, of course, we add in another. It was a bad race for Canada and therefore the world in the first round. It's been a wonderful day for Canada and therefore the world in the second round here today at Okayama. And 2 great races, 2 very different races. But it comes down, as we've seen all season long, to how consistent you can be. You might be good for 1 lap. You might be good for 5 minutes. But actually, it's about managing that 20-minute race, managing every microsector and getting each element and phase of qualifying, the start, the race, and in this case, of course, that drive through pit road done to perfection.
Of course, heading into the next race day, it is the penultimate event. The first half of the last 4 rounds races is the way I'm going to say it. However, in terms of the next race day, the race that's going to be the most like this one that we just saw, Daytona. That is going to be a big wildcard race. We saw one of the interviewees after the event say that it's basically all bets are off with regards to who could possibly win that one. Because if you know the iRacing Daytona 24 here that we broadcast on RaceSpot as well, during that first entire hour of the race, all the classes are involved in that one big slipstream chain. Pending any instance, it's going to be one big slipstream train right from lap number 1 all the way to the final lap of the race, pending, of course, lucky dip scenario with the stop situation. So, if we get that option.
Yeah, I was going to say, thing is, if we do end up with that, it will be in many ways the opposite to what we saw here today. But what you're going to need, I'm going to quote the good old Fox NASCAR crew, Darrell Waltrip, you're going to need yourself a dance partner because you don't want to be riding alone at Daytona if you did end up having to have that mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, of course, there's still the other options that can be chosen as well. The points for fastest lap and points for pole position as well. So, points for fastest lap, well, that can just be a random roll of the dice. As far as I'm concerned, it just depends on.
Probably get it.
Yeah, it depends on, if you can just get a whole slipstream lap together and you're back in P10 or something like that, and you can get those points on the board. But points for pole position, that's going to be an interesting one. It's very difficult to try and get yourself pole position at a race like Daytona because it's such a simple track. Everyone's going to be within the same couple of hundredths of a second, so we'll see what happens there. But we are running shortly on time here, Will. Again, this series tends to deliver and has delivered again with regards to the racing that we see out there. I just love touring car racing, I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, it's so late. My watch has gone into night mode. So with that, I think it's about time that we say goodbye. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Hyundai, to Africa TV, to Hankook Tires, and to Logitech G for sponsoring the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. I want to say thank you also to our Korean and Portuguese broadcast teams, as well as all the guys that's been working behind the back. One very quick thing I have tonight, Connery. I called him Team Ty. I wear a suit. Arjuna doesn't. Do we only have one suit here at RaceSpotTV?
Yeah, we just pass it round. That's the situation. That's how much the budget can stretch, unfortunately. Yeah. So that has to happen. But Arjuna letting us down one more time.
Yeah, pay us more, folks. With that, we're going to wrap it up and say thank you very much again to everyone who's been watching, everyone who voted for the Lucky Dip, and of course, all the drivers who have participated in this series. That wraps up our coverage from race day 3 of the 2022 Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. Next time out, we've got ourselves Lime Rock Park and Daytona under the lights, and it is going to be absolutely fantastic once again. For more information about this series, visit RaceSpot.tv/Hyundai. And to vote in the Lucky Dip, go to RaceSpot.wtf/Lucky Dip. In the meanwhile, for myself, Will Vincent, and Connery Maddock, we say thank you for watching and good night from Phillip Island and Okayama.
자동차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. Hankook Tire.